So I'm out with Pat today. We've come up to Upper Nisbet to have a look over our kale field. So we're in the first plot, which we had 1.8 kilos of bombardier, we had 200 grams of Triumph Swed, and we had a kilo of sweet clover. Now what we've done is we've got a metre squared and we have pre-cut the kale and the Triumph and we've bagged it up. And we're going to take a measurement now to give us a rough idea of the differences between the different plots. So we've got just over 8 kilos. So that's 8 kilos fresh weight per metre squared. So that's going to give me 80 tonne fresh weight per hectare. So you're talking about 14% dry matter in this mixture. So you'd be looking at somewhere in between sort of 10.5, 11 tonne of dry matter per hectare, which is fantastic on this plot. You know, you'd be looking roughly in big figures about 8 to 10. So if we're averaging above that, fantastic. It'll be interesting to now move on to the other plots and see how they compare. So we've now moved along in the trial field. We started off in the bombardier, which a bombardier is a really good cattle kale. It's got a big marrow stem on it. And we've moved into the Maris kestrel kale, which, as you would expect, it's far shorter. It's got far more leaf to stem ratio, but that's going to lead on to a smaller yield, which is fine. Generally, this is grown for a specific purpose and it's more the sheep side of it in mind, and you want really good palatability. Now in this section we have a mix of 1.8 kilos of Maris kestrel kale, we've got 200 grams of Triumph Swed, and we've also got a kilo of crimson clover. Now I think across all the plots the crimson's the thing that's really done well and it's had a marked impact. You can see here it's really gone to a good height. It's starting to die back now across the plot, but it has been impressive. Though we'll just have a look at what weight we've got now in the metre squared of the Maris kestrel kale. So we've got 5.5 kilos of dry matter on the metre squared. So you're looking about 55 kilos, 55 tonnes of fresh weight per hectare. So roughly we're going to be in about the 7.5 tonnes of dry matter per hectare. Which, if you were growing this specific, sheep grazing would be absolutely perfect. So we've come along to the far end of the field, and in this section we've done a combination of 1 kilo of Caledonian kale, which is a marrow stem variety, and we've combined that with 1 kilo of Maris kestrel kale. Now the reason for doing that, you can see the differences here. As a really good illustration. So here we've got our Caledonian, which is a big, thick, chunky marrow stem, and next to it you can see your thinner, more palatable, slightly shorter Maris kestrel kale. Now this is fantastic. This will grow like stink. It'll grow really tall. But the problem we've been finding with a lot of people, especially if you put a really robust amount of nitrogen on, is there's the potential for it to fall flat and fall over and then not being utilised. There's no point growing loads of kale if we're not able to utilise that crop. We've not gone crazy with a nitrogen application either on here. We've gone on with about 70 units of nitrogen all in with the seed bed. Again, we don't want it to go flat and we wanted to give the legumes a chance and to see what they would do. So the idea with the Maris kestrel, it'll grow a bit shorter and hopefully act a bit of a stand to stop everything going flat. The fertility across the field is quite variable. It's come out of an old lay of grass, and you can really see that as we walk across. There's some really strong parts and some slightly shorter areas, and what we've tried to do is get a good average in every area. If we take a weight of what we've got here, so this is your Caledonian and your Maris Kestrel, we are sitting at, yeah, we're just over the 8 kilos. So the 8 kilos dry matter per metre squared, it's giving us about 80 tonne fresh weight per hectare, which dry matter, if we worked roughly about the 14%, you're looking just over 11 tonne of dry matter per hectare, which is again fantastic. You know, this is really a good pioneer crop to get that old ley broken up, and it's also given us the added benefit of a large amount of kilos of dry matter per hectare. So we've just come up to the far end to have a wee look at his autumn calvers and how they are utilising the various mixtures. So they've been on the Kale for about a week now, and they tend to get a couple of metres every day, and you can see how they're utilising it. There's very, very little left. Like generally you'd expect them to leave about 5 centimetres, and to me they're taking it way down below that. It's early days for Kale, you know, we're way before Christmas, it's still plenty of moisture in it, it's nice and fresh, and they're really getting through it. You can see they're utilising some of the sweds as well, they're really getting into that. They've got a nice run back as we look down throughout the field. You know, general principles apply. The Kale should only make up about 70-75% of the diet, and they've got access to bales as well in the troughs, and the calves are being crept fed. But no, really pleased with how it's going, how they're utilising the Kale, and we'll keep you informed as we're going forward. Thank you.